Good afternoon, I'm Herman Green with the Midday News. A special welcome to those of you watching on onespotmedia.com. A reminder as well that you can watch TVJ live by downloading our One Spot Media app from the Google Play Store or from the App Store. That's the number 1, followed by the word Spot Media. Ride and be wise, a call to bikers this afternoon who use the nation's roads without the proper protective gears. Chairman of the Southern Regional Health Authority, Wayne Chen, says hospitals continue to spend millions each year to deal with trauma cases. In addition, they continue to be woefully short on blood. TVJ's Shamela Mitchell reports.
A group of professional bikers has sought to reinforce that message. The group came out in their numbers to support the One Love Blood drive at the Mandeville Regional Hospital recently. Speaking with TVJ News, one of the bikers emphasized that persons riding bikes on the roads need to wear their protective gears, especially a helmet.
What you see us do here today as relates to the stunting, we are trained professional. We practice a lot and we always wear our gears. Our bike is equipped to do these stunts. Right? A lot of guys go on the road and do them with bikes that are not equipped. If you take a look at the bike, you would see that the bike is designed to do stuff like this. Superior braking, superior quality tires, and cages so that in an event of a fall, the bike is protected.
Mr. Chen says it continues to cost the health sector millions of dollars each year to treat trauma cases, which are mainly caused by road crashes.
And if we were able to cut accident victims by just 30%, we would save the public health system almost $500 million per year. If we were able to have 45 fewer accident victims in the Mandeville Regional Hospital, we would save $5 million in this hospital alone per year.
However, beyond the cost, Mr. Chen says resources at hospitals continue to be stretched, especially blood. He says hospitals have to be using the blood earmarked for critical surgeries to treat accident victims.
We need to develop a culture of regular blood donation. We need to just make it a part of our regular annual habit to give blood once or twice. And the second part is we have to develop a culture that reduces the requirement for blood in cases where it involves vehicle accidents and victims of violence.
Shamela Mitchell, TVJ News.
Days after calls were made for road repair schedules to be revised, the National Works Agency, NWA, is defending their schedule and operations. The calls were made after the corporate era experienced intense traffic Monday evening, which frustrated many motorists. It's believed that the traffic pileup was due to road repair being done during peak hour traffic. However, Communications Manager for the NWA, Stephen Shaw, said the traffic pileup is not entirely their fault.
On Monday, what happened? Apart from yes, we were doing patching on Monday, late into the afternoon. But we also had a situation of a broken down vehicle on Balmoral Avenue. And then we had a hole just in front of the fire station. So those three things together cause the gridlock that person's experienced.
He said the NWA received the asphalt from the supplying company late on Monday. It also relates to the schedule, Mr. Shaw said, usually repairs are done between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m.
If it is that we are working on on Halfway Tree Road and it is getting beyond 3 o'clock, we do a couple of things. We find another road, off-road, and we shift the operation to that particular area, even if it means we are to move to St. Catherine or St. Thomas.
Mr. Shaw was speaking on TVJ's Smile Jamaica on Friday. Justice Minister Delroy Chuck has brushed aside comments that the temporary appointment of Justice Brian Sykes is unconstitutional. Mr. Chuck's defense was that the Prime Minister had little time to appoint someone in the position, with Zayla McCalla retiring. He added that the Prime Minister knew very little about Justice Sykes and that he was meeting him for the first time last month.
if the Prime Minister had appointed someone to act, and that person turned out to be a disaster, then it's obvious that everyone would say it's a good thing.
Mr. Chuck says there could be some merit to the temporary appointment.
I hear you, and with all due respect, but it kind of sounds like what you're trying to do is to justify something that is unconstitutional.
I don't think it's absolutely, it's not unconstitutional. The Section 99(1) allows the Prime Minister to ask someone to act. And let us bear in mind that a decision as to who should or could be the next Chief Justice was not agreed on within the last moments of the present Chief Justice demitting office. So it was absolutely necessary that the candidate we thought best, at very best, at least to put him to act. And as far as I can see, it is quite constitutional. Nothing.
Mr. Chuck also hinted that the Prime Minister could be making a public announcement on the matter soon.
Some support, and I have no doubt. I did meet with him for 2.5 hours this week and outlined some of the discussions that we hope to achieve in the justice system. And I strongly believe that in short order something will happen.
With all that has been tried in the past 5 months to stem the country's crime problem, seemingly without success, the Peace Management Initiative, PMI, is again calling for more resources to support its program. For senior PMI representative Horace Levy, the PMI programs have been having success but needs to be extended. PMI spokesman Horace Levy, a plan outlined by the PMI East some time ago, is still able to reduce Jamaica's crime figures if allowed to be implemented on a wider scale. He is confident, as he says, the same program has seen success in the small areas where it was effected.
In the 10 communities it focuses on around Spanish Town, between January and September last year, it was able to reduce murders by 30%. 30%. At a time, in a period, January to September, end of September, when the parish rate was going up.
He says despite this good record, the initiative is ignored when a solution to crime is being considered. Mr. Levy explained that the plan has 3 levels which must be implemented together. The first is social intervention, which he notes the PMI already does through meetings with crime victims, perpetrators, as well as relatives on both sides, which reduces the likelihood of reprisals. With more resources, he says, this can be extended to more communities. The second level is for the national mobilization of public and private sectors to fund infrastructural changes in crime-riddled communities.
There's a cost to all of this, obviously. But when you stop and think about the figures that the IDB and every institution is saying it's costing us presently, right? Between 5 and 7% of GDP annually. 5 to 7% means 80 to 120 billion approximately.
He therefore argues that crime costs more as it is now than for entities to fund these initiatives. The third level calls for a monitoring entity similar to the Economic Program Oversight Committee, EPOC, to oversee the achievement of set targets. Mr. Levy was speaking at a Rotary Club of Kingston meeting in Kingston on Thursday. Herman Green, TVJ News. Meanwhile, Mr. Levy has also commented on the recent appointment of an acting Chief Justice with confirmation pending based on performance. Mr. Levy is warning that the move threatens the separation of powers in the justice system, which is a fundamental feature of democracy.
I mean, what will happen if the appointed Chief Justice who's handling the case in St. Thomas, where there's a dispute between the PNP and the JLP councillors, it's 5 to 5. What happens there if he makes a judgment either in favor of the Labour Party people or against them, right? You know, he could be pilloried by one party or the other for favouring. It's very unfortunate.
He agrees that there is a problem with the pace of the justice system, but believes this appointment is not the solution. He says what is critical now is for the government to focus on putting more resources in place to improve the efficiency of the courts, as he believes the slowness of the justice system is a contributing factor in the increase in crime.
Impacts very heavily on the crime scene because it creates impunity, huge impunity for people out there, for those who are inclined to crime or who have committed crime. And so it's contributing very much to the state of our murder rate in this country. If you get only 5 or 6% of those who are charged, in other words, you know, 5 or 6 out of 100 charged who end up being convicted, heavens, the rest feel free. I can do it and get away.
A removal order is to be issued against the illegal occupants of the People's Arcade in Montego Bay, St. James. This eviction notice comes as the Jamaica Railway Corporation, JRC, heads to court on the background of deepening security and health concerns, which include unsanitary conditions, widespread electricity theft, and a lack of access for the security forces. Mayor of Montego Bay, Homer Davis, says his suggestion in handling this situation is twofold.
Which is one, legal approach, that is the one that goes through the courts, and one in which the police should be given unfettered authority to conduct cordon and search, and whatever illegal contrabands are found there, they are brought before the court, and that will itself strengthen the case before the resident magistrate court, and it will also strengthen your case in the court of public opinion.
This court order should be granted within the first week of March. The issue of praedial larceny continues to be a major sore point for farmers in rural parishes island-wide. In a 2017 article, head of the Praedial Larceny Prevention Unit, Deputy Superintendent of Police Kevin Francis, said praedial larceny has shifted to more organized crime. He stated that praedial larceny is no longer a man stealing to provide for his family. But President of the Manchester Association of Branch Society, MacArthur Collins, says praedial larceny can't be stopped by the JCF alone.
Product and cattle rearing, they're getting a hard time with this era. But I know that you have a very good agro team from the JCF. They are working very hard, but they cannot work without the assistance from the farmers. Because I say one or two people know, lots of people know. So the way we can successfully stop this leech on our farmers, the farmers and the community have to come together and give the information. There are lots of areas where you can pass information to. They have to do that. Without that, it will be a failure for the police to come in and take on the burden.
DSP Francis said new strategies will be employed to combat the paradigm shift of larcenists to ensure farmers reap the success of their labor. It's time now for our Fact or Fiction feature. Fact or Fiction, the Jamaica Information Service, JIS, was first known as the Government Public Relations Office, GPRO. Find out the answer at the end of the sports segment of the newscast. We go on to news overseas as President Donald Trump signed a major budget deal into law early Friday morning, hours after Congress voted to end a brief government shutdown overnight. The bill, which lawmakers have been negotiating for months, now clears the decks for Congress in dealing with major spending issues. We have the details from the CNN.
Well, I think the big question right now is what was the actual impact of a shutdown, particularly one that's
in the middle of the night.
That's in the middle of the night. And another thing, when the Office of Management and Budget was reaching out to the agencies last night and informing them that they needed to prepare for this, they were allowed contingency plans to allow their workers, even those that would be furloughed, to come in for 4 hours to have kind of a regular order shutdown, if you will, if that's something that actually exists. Although based on the last 18 days, apparently it is a regular thing. So there isn't expected to be a lot lot of impact. I haven't heard from friends and colleagues that are federal workers that any furlough notices have gone out, so things should be pretty seamless. This was a short shutdown. What amazing thing. And I want to underscore real quick the importance of what this deal actually does going forward. These types of moments, presumably, will now be off the table. This keeps the government open until March 23rd, but setting the top-line spending numbers, increasing the budget caps, $300 billion over the course of 2 years, plus another $100 billion in disaster relief, that really takes out a lot of almost the tools that led to these types of moments in the past. Should smooth things out, at least for the next couple of months, probably a year or two. That, I think, for people who are tired of crises, is a positive thing.
And finally this afternoon, the answer to our Fact or Fiction feature. We asked, fact or fiction? The Jamaica Information Service, JIS, was first known as the Government Public Relations Office, GPRO. Well, it's a fact. JIS was established in 1956 with the main objective to produce and disseminate information to the public. The agency was first known as the Government Public Relations Office, GPRO, which was responsible for issuing press releases and maintaining good relations between the press and the government. In 1963, the GPRO was renamed the Jamaica Information Service. In 1974, the name of the agency was changed to the Agency for Public Information, API. However, it reverted to the Jamaica Information Service in 1980. And that wraps up the Midday News. I'm Herman Green. Join us at 7 for the Primetime News Package. On behalf of the News, Sports and Production teams, good afternoon.